Instead of spending endless hours talking about what's broken, let's instead talk about what it used to look like when it was healthy and what it would look like if we could fix it and make it an awesome relationship. Those positive things are the answers or solutions to make the relationship work. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Becoming One podcast. I'm Dr. Matt, your coach and your guide as we get through this crazy thing we call life. Today, we're going to talk about 5 beliefs that are killing your relationship. 5 different mindsets or paradigms that might be causing the same pattern of relationship failure that you're struggling with. And each and every one of us wants our relationships to be better, right? We want our connections that we make in life to be more lasting, to be more uplifting and more positive. And one of the things that gets in the way the most is just our habitual thinking, the way we think about our problems, the way we think about our relationships and the conflict that we're going through. So this is really the summary of what I've learned sitting for thousands of hours with people trying to work through their most difficult issues and break down the things that seem to complicate their relationships way more than we need them to. So let's jump right into it right now. Again, 5 beliefs that are killing your relationship. Belief number 1 is the belief that what we're fighting about is the real issue. The thought that what we're talking about, arguing about, disagreeing about, we think that's the issue. And it generally isn't the issue. When a couple comes to me and they're fighting about their sex life, a lot of times what you're going to find out is it's not about the sex life. It's about a feeling of not being wanted. It's about a feeling of somebody that doesn't seem to care. If they bring me an issue and they're fighting about money, what I could pretty much bank on is that the issue isn't actually about money. Because if we go long enough into any issue, we'll see that issue spread into 15 different directions. I call that the smoke. So when I was first in this business, I worked as a mediator, helping couples deal with difficult conversations and mediating sometimes divorces, as well as helping companies mediate their conversations with their clients, with people that were creating problems for them. So as a mediator, what I would notice is that people would come in and they'd start talking about something and it would turn into a really big fight that was never the real issue in the end. For example, story I tell a lot is about a couple that came in arguing about a purse, right? It was a $400 purse. Basically, they were saying, we're on the verge of divorce because of this $400 purse. So we start getting into it, and the husband's like, it's silly. Nobody needs a $400 purse. The wife then said, it's not a purse, it's a bag. So they started to fight about a bag. And he's like, I don't care what you call it. Nobody needs a $400 bag. And then she got smart and said, oh, really? If nobody needs a $400 bag, how much was that golf bag you just bought? And he's like, what golf bag? And right then he couldn't hear what we were talking about. And he's like, why are we talking about my golf bag when we were just talking about your purse? And she said very clearly, because you just said nobody needs a $400 bag, but you just bought a bag. How much did that bag cost? He's like, I don't know, $370. And her head spun around. He's like, $370 is $400, you dork. And now they're fighting about $370 versus $400. Back and forth they go until eventually she just started saying, you always did love golf more than me. And now we're fighting about love. And then eventually somebody's mother got involved and somebody brought up the other person's mother. So what's the real issue they're fighting about? Is it money or is it the purse? Or is it the mother-in-law? Or is it golf? I realized it's not about any of that. That's all what I call the smoke. And it doesn't matter if it's about money and bags or if it's about, how come you never touch me? How come you never initiate sex? How come you yell at the kids? Whatever the issues are that come up, don't take the bait to believe that that issue is the real issue. That's the smoke. And the rule is very simply, whenever there's smoke, there's what? There's a fire. If you want to blow up the real issue, you got to get out of the smoke and get down to the real fire. that's causing the smoke. One of the things that I say is the real fire are 7 basic needs. I call them the starved stuff. 7 basic needs that have to be met. And if they're not met, you're going to see smoke start to appear. Here they are. I got to feel safe with you. Safe physically, socially, financially, spiritually, emotionally. I've got to feel safe with you. If I don't feel financially safe, we're going to fight about your purse. If I don't feel emotionally safe, we're going to fight about how much time you're spending with your friends. If I don't feel socially safe with you, we're going to argue about what you told your best friend about our argument last night. The second basic need is trust. I've got to trust you. You've got to trust me. If I don't trust you, then I'm going to wonder where you are all of the time. And if I don't trust you, I'm going to wonder what you're looking at on your phone. The third basic need is appreciation. Everybody wants to be appreciated differently. If I don't feel appreciated, guess what? I'm going to ask you questions about why are you on your phone and why aren't you coming and sitting by me while we watch this show? So we can argue about your telephone or we can talk about appreciation. Does that make sense? So we have safety, we have trust, we have appreciation. The fourth need is we need to feel respected. If you want to be in a relationship for a long time, you have to feel like the person sees you and respects you as a partner in this relationship. The fifth need is validation. Everybody wants to be validated. We need to learn to talk in a way that we can both have an opinion that's valid instead of invalidating each other and always making each other's ideas seem insignificant and stupid. The sixth need is encouragement. Every relationship needs to have some encouragement. We want our partner to be encouraging us to reach our highest heights and to help us through our lowest lows. And the final need is dedication. Everybody wants to know that their partner is more dedicated to them than any other person, place, or thing. So back to that couple that was arguing about the purse and the golf bag. The deeper issue that are the starved issues is it sounds like the husband doesn't feel financially safe about how they're spending their money on the purse, right? So it's a safety issue for the husband. And it sounds like the spouse, the wife, doesn't feel like she's appreciated and she's not getting her husband's dedication because he's spending too much time on golf. After witnessing this for so long, just sitting with couples as they would fight through their smoke, and eventually I could get them down to their starved stuff, I wrote a book on it that's called Starved Stuff, Feeding the 7 Basic Needs of Healthy Relationships. And it was designed specifically to get people to learn how to talk more effectively, more efficiently by getting down to the real core issues and then solving those real issues. So let me give you a challenge. What I'd love you to do is start discerning when you're in smoke and when you're in fire. When you guys are having a conversation and it starts to get a little heated, maybe something that would lead to a normal argument in your relationship, if you could just stop and say, whoa, honey, I'm not understanding because I think I'm too caught up in the smoke. Help me understand what your starved issue is. Help me understand what the fire is. And it takes practice because normally your fight or flight turns on, right? And you turn into this reptilian brain fighter. So this is kind of going against what you might do naturally. But the power is it's going to actually create a space where you're less reactive about what they're saying, and it'll actually decrease your number of arguments. Once you understand it's not the smoke, it's the fire that matters. Once we start to put that fire out, it's amazing how quickly the smoke disappears. Okay, so belief number 2 that we've got to blow up is the idea that talking about our issues will fix the issues, right? If you want to fix a problem, you need to actually talk about solutions that will fix the problem. You actually need to hold each other accountable to things that work to fix the problem. In all of my years, I have never seen a marriage or a relationship improve by talking about their problems endlessly. It doesn't work. It's kind of like me constantly telling you what I don't like in the relationship doesn't make it clearer to you what I do like. So what I'd prefer that we do is instead of spending endless hours talking about what's broken, is let's instead talk about what it used to look like when it was healthy, what really worked well today, and what it would look like if we could fix it and make it an awesome relationship. Those positive things are the things that actually are the answers or solutions to make the relationship work. I spend a lot of time with couples that come in, and you'll be amazed at how quickly we can jump on a solution that will make the relationship better. For example, they'll come in and they'll immediately start to tell me everything that's wrong in the relationship. We don't talk, we don't communicate, his mother comes over too much, all these problems, and they'll download the problems. And then all I need to do is ask something like, can you give me an example where you guys have had a good conversation that led to some good results, and tell me about that? And invariably, they can find one, maybe only one, but many times they can find 10 examples of where they did talk through something. And I asked specifically, what worked in the talking? Well, we weren't name calling, that was for sure. Notice what they're telling me is what they didn't do. But what works as a solution is being positive. And we write down the solution. What else worked for communication? Well, there was that one time when our child was sick and in the hospital, and we needed to come up and actually solve some really difficult problems about his care. So we actually scheduled time to go do it and to go talk about it, and knowing that we had to have a decision within like 24 hours. So another thing that works, that's a good solution for this couple, is scheduling time to talk, having deadlines that help them move toward a solution. Those things are what we call solutions, and solutions work. And so as you're going through your own smoke in your relationship and those issues that come up, and you get down to the real starve stuff, the safety, trust, appreciation, respect, validation, encouragement, and dedication, let's then start talking not about just the problems. Let's start talking about how we can make each other feel safer. How can I help you feel more trust of me? How can I make you feel like you're an appreciated person in this relationship and respected and validated, and come up with real solutions, and then hold each other accountable to live those solutions. And let's make a plan for how we will learn to respect each other more. You might even start making rules like, hey, do you remember that one time when you called me that name? Let's agree we're not going to call each other names anymore. That could become a rule that we could use to build more respect in our relationship. Working on the starve stuff and actually empowering solutions around the starve stuff is the way to bring life back to your relationship. Now, obviously, it's not easy to do this, but the minute you start to look at the things that work and you start to implement and integrate those solutions into your day-to-day life, guess what happens? You've empowered solutions, and the problems start to dissipate and go away. I'd love you at the end of every night to take just a little time with each other and identify one solution every night, one thing that you saw your partner do that made you feel loved, that made you feel safe and trusted and appreciated and respected and validated and encouraged and dedication. What's one thing they did that just ticked off one of those areas to make you feel stronger and more cared for, more safe? And then I want you to share that with each other and even write them down. Start putting them down on a notebook or in a journal, and identify each of you. Take 1 minute to just share, hey, I really appreciated this today. It's a very positive solution. It's something you did that made me feel really loved today. And then as you tell that to your partner, I'd love your partner to just hear it, receive it, say thank you, appreciate that, and then switch turns. Make sense? By you identifying every day the positive things that work in the relationship, the solutions that work, you're going to actually do way more for your relationship than just talking about stuff. Okay, let's now look at belief number 3 that is killing our relationships. Belief number 3 is our problems are worse than other people's problems, and they are unfixable. Okay? The secret, that could not be further from the truth. That which is most personal that you're struggling with is most universal, meaning everyone's struggling with it. All of us have virtually the exact same issues. In fact, the research by John Gottman has found conflict is a healthy, natural part of the healthiest, happiest couples in relationships. The research is clear. Those couples that are happiest have a healthy dose of conflict. So your goal shouldn't be to get rid of all conflict. The goal should be to better manage the conflict by cutting through the smoke down to the fire, right? So going back to my time as a divorce mediator 25 plus years ago, I started to notice that there are patterns, that all of my clients that were divorcing were bringing me basically the exact same issues, the same smoke, the same starved stuff, the same unhealthy patterns of communication. And all I realized is the couples aren't broken. They just don't see the pattern and they don't have the ability to unhook themselves from the pattern. That's probably what you guys are experiencing, right? After years and years, habit after habit after habit, argument after argument, or avoidance after avoidance of not solving the problems, you don't know how to unhook yourself from the pattern either. And after seeing that and realizing, man, I can either keep helping people divorce or I can stop and go help people recognize the pattern and start fixing it. That's where my job changed. As a little kid, I went to a grocery store with my mom and she was checking everything out and like ready to pay. And they had a little chain that divided the aisle where we were paying for our groceries. And every section had a chain that you could lock to keep people out of that section. Well, I'm just sitting there, a little probably 6-year-old kid, and I took the chain and I ran it through my belt loops of my pants and I locked the chain. So I was now locked and chained to the counter. And right then I looked up and my mom was gone. And I took off running and got stuck because I was chained. And it created this panic in me like, mom, don't leave me. And what I realized right then is that the only reason, it's not like I couldn't undo this, but I was so caught up in the moment and the panic of my mom leaving me. I hadn't even paid attention to the fact of what I had done to myself. And so until I unhooked the chain that was holding me back, I was stuck. I could cry, I could scream, I could blame, I could do all of these other things. But in reality, I'm the one who had created this little world for me. We've all done versions of this. Have you ever been on your cell phone, talking on your phone, but looking for your phone because you can't find your phone? Are we seriously all that jacked up that we don't know we're on the phone while we're looking for the phone? No, the problem is you can't see it. You can't see the forest for the trees, right? You're too in the thick of it that you can't see that you're in the forest. So the dilemma that we've all got to work on is it's not unfixable. These relationship challenges that we're all suffering with, they are fixable. Just like I was not doomed to live the rest of my life in that grocery store. All I had to do was see the problem and untangle myself. That's the power in understanding how conflict really works. You're not just a victim to it. I wasn't a victim to that situation. Weirdly, in my naive 6-year-old ignorance, I had committed myself to something that got me stuck. And a lot of us naively do that in our relationships, and we don't necessarily know how to get out of it until we understand what the pattern is. And then we just have to show you some tools to get out of that pattern of thinking. And once you do, guess what you immediately start to feel? Hope. Once I recognized that my mom was going to stay and I started to unhook myself, I had hope. And the same can be true in our relationships. I know people that have spent years in the same problems. They've done it for 50 years. They've had the same fights and never solved them. And I've seen some people start to solve them in an hour or two into their honeymoon because they're starting to figure out what part of the problem they are. The only question is going to be, how soon are you going to learn the pattern? So here's a challenge for you guys. Accept that your challenges are not unfixable. And one of the most powerful ways to begin to reverse the spiral is to notice the pattern you're in. Go spend some time identifying the pattern for how your discussions, arguments, and conflicts go. What do you contribute? What does your partner contribute? Go start noticing the pattern of smoke and fire as part of that, right? So taking accountability of what you can do leads us right into belief number 4, which is the problem is my partner. The belief that the problem is my partner puts you in a really bad location for your ability to fix it. How do I fix something that is my partner's fault? You can't. So it starts to inevitably foster a sense of helplessness, a sense of disempowerment. And it also makes you the victim of the story. So a better or healthier story might be, instead of my problem is my partner, is the problem is not you or your partner. The problem is what happens in the space between you and your partner. It's the broken communication patterns, is the tendency to fight or flight. It's the belief that we're going to chase the smoke instead of the fire. It's all of the stuff that happens in between you two in the conversation that is the problem. There's a great quote by a guy named Noah Ben Shea that says, it's not the bars that hold the tiger in, it's the space between the bars that hold the tiger in. It's not the notes that makes the music. It's the space between the notes that makes the music. If you go to the zoo and you go to the tiger exhibit and the bars are 5 feet apart from each other, I'd leave. I'd get out of there because bars don't keep tigers in. Space does. And 2 people in a relationship does not a marriage make. It's the space of what happens between those people that makes a relationship that people want to be in. So if we want to improve that space, there's one activity or one tool that I'm going to challenge you right now to go do with your partner. And I'm going to challenge you to do it every day for 3 weeks. What? Every day, I want you, when you wake up in the morning, ask yourself this question. What is one thing I can do today that will have the most positive impact on the space between my partner and I? One thing you could do to make the space safer, to make it more appreciative, more respectful, more trusting. And it might be your time, your attention, your focus, your touch. It might be your tone. It might be just you being willing to be present with them. And then I want you in the morning to make a goal sometime in the day to deliver that one thing. And if each of you are delivering one thing every day to strengthen the space between you and your partner, guess what's going to happen? It's going to take your relationship to the next level. And what I'd love you to do is then throughout the day, be looking for things that your partner is doing that are signs that they're trying to serve you and love you. And you'll probably find more than just one of them. And then at the end of the night, you could sit down and talk about what that one thing was that made it really special for you today. And that's power showing you that we're no longer going to be the problem of our relationship. We're teaching each other that I am going to get in the space with you and I'm going to work hard every day to earn that love and to feed those starved needs. A really good example of where I've seen this mentality be changed was on our Becoming One group coaching program. They come on, they ask questions, and as a group, everyone can listen while I coach this person. But she came on talking about how her partner doesn't care, he's broken, and she went down this huge list of stuff where he was the problem. But one of the things that we talked about with this woman is blowing up this belief that the problem is the partner. The minute she had it solidified that he is so broken that it's over, then she'd stay stuck in that paradigm with him. So what we had her do is instead, I wanted her to start to identify, why does she get so tipped over every time he keeps doing the same ineffective thing? One of the things we found out is she has some anxiety and a lot of need to control. And her need to control in order to manage her anxiety made it so she didn't see that she was also part of this system and this pattern that was going on between them. Once she actually unfolded and started to understand that she could work on her response, she could work on her anxiety, she could work on her ability to not be offended by what he was doing. Once she started to offer that in the space, without the partner even knowing, it created curiosity in him. He started to wonder, what's going on? You seem different. You seem nicer. You seem happier. And one of the things she said is, yeah, I've been taking this Becoming One coaching program, and I've realized that I am creating a lot of stress in this relationship because I see you as a big part of my problem in life. And so I've been trying to work on me. And once I started working on me, I realized I could change a lot of my experience in my relationship with you. By the way, the only reason he noticed, the only reason he was interested and then showed up the next week to our call is because she started to work the space between. And when she started to heal herself, he felt the difference. And then he could come in. And now to this day, he still sits in on the calls and is learning how he now needs to make the changes he needs to make in the relationship. The fifth and final belief that is destroying our relationship is simply the idea that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. A really common issue or mistake I've seen with couples is that they believe they've done everything. They've gone to counseling, they've gone to therapy, they've done coaching, they've taken classes, they've done everything they believe to improve the situation. And then they believe that their history defines them. It's not going to work because they've tried everything. And I need to help you understand that's not true. My entire life has been devoted to seeing and witnessing couple after couple after couple change that. You can improve this if you focus on the right solutions, if you understand the patterns, if you actually understand yourself well enough to work on the real fire instead of the smoke of the issues. There is hope of change. And the way that takes place is when we remove some of the beliefs that don't work. The minute you take care of the beliefs that aren't working, like the 5 we've removed, you start to get results you've never had. One of my favorite experiences is just going to Costco and running into a client there. I just saw one about a week ago, and as I'm sitting there talking to him, he's telling me this new ground he's breaking in his marriage, where they can finally talk at a level they've never been able to talk. And as their children are no longer home, and now it's just them, you see this newfound hope in his heart as he is telling me we can have conflict still and it doesn't tip us over for a week. Now we can talk out the harder stuff. Now we can actually build dreams and goals into the future. Now we can actually co-parent in a way that makes the kids want to be around us. And interestingly, as they've changed the space between themselves in the relationship, more and more of the kids are coming home and wanting to be a part of that relationship as well. As I tell you this, I'm not doing it to bolster up my coaching, but I'm telling it to you because this was a couple who had no hope. They didn't think it could work. They've tried everything. They had never made the progress they needed. All they needed really was some time and some space with the right tools and the right solutions and the willingness to stay at it for a while. They did it, and the power is in them, just like it's in you. If you want to actually create a change, you have to change your thinking. And when we change these beliefs that we've been talking about, it changes the feelings we have. Because now we have more hope. Now we have more insight. Now we have more understanding. And when it changes our feelings, we can then change our actions that are aligned to those feelings. Now we're motivated to start doing the healthier thing. And day after day, we start becoming something different in our relationship. You are not bound by your history if you're willing to do something different today. Don't you dare believe that you're stuck and that it can't be improved. you're only stuck because you don't see the way out. Just like if your car is stuck for 3 hours in a mud bog and you can't get it out, it doesn't mean the tow truck that can come can't get it out. And the most powerful thing about meeting these couples that have gone through my online programs or hearing their results is that I know behind those two people, there are other relationships, family, children, parents, that are going to be strengthened by the fact that two people loved each other enough to dig in and to learn how to create these changes. And that is why we do this podcast, to help you become one with yourself, one with your partner, and one with all of the relationships that matter most to you in your life.